listening to Inside the Rings, your ultimate podcast destination for everything related to the Olympic movement. Here's your host, my dad, John Hawkins.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Rings, where we go behind the scenes of the Olympic movement, exploring the people, the passion, and the purpose of the Olympic Games. I'm your host, John Hawkins, and today we were talking with a history-making athlete who redefined what was possible for American luge. He's a four-time Olympian, a PyeongChang silver medalist, and one of the most thoughtful voices in sliding sports. Grateful to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, John.
So let's talk about where it all started. You're born in Massachusetts, but you grew up essentially in Saranac Lake, New York, right? Basically the backyard of Lake Placid. What first drew you to luge?
So I grew up in northern New York, which I don't think people realize how cold that is. It truly is one of the coldest places in the country. So if you don't do something that, like in the winter, you're going to go crazy. Because winter, like I have so many memories of Halloween with snow, like blizzard, like snow. And so if that means like end of October is where snow starts, the snows don't leave the ground until middle of April, not end of April. So if you don't find something that's going to keep you occupied in the winter, you're going to go crazy. And for me, I loved sledding as a kid. And I was really lucky because, we had Lake Placid in our backyard. We had Mount Van Hovenberg with bobsled, skeleton, luge in my backyard, which I didn't know at the time. But I guess like the biggest thing that got me into luge, surprisingly, is the heroic coach John Candy from the movie Cool Runnings, where, I mean, as you see Cool Runnings, you want to do bobsled. So at a young age, I had the opportunity to do bobsled. So there was a program for kids ages 8 to 13 to go up to Lake Placid to actually do like bobsled, be in the movie, like feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. You could do it at 8 years old with Lake Placid being really close. It was a win for our parents. Like all my friends and I, we did it together because one group of parents would take all the kids up, giving the rest of the parents, evenings off, which I appreciate now as a parent. And the kids win because they get to do bobsled. But the problem with bobsled was it was really popular. So the line is long and it takes a while to take a bobsled out of the track. So you only got 1 or 2 runs a night and you're standing out in the cold in a line. But there's another sport called luge, which was on a different track at the time and there was no line. So if I ran from the bottom to where we started, I could get 10 runs a night. So it was really easy as a kid. Like I loved sledding. Luge was ultimate sledding and I hated lines. So I basically was like, I'm done with bobsled. Get out of here. Like I was all in with luge from 8 years old. And I didn't even know it was an Olympic sport. I just thought it was the most fun you could have in the winter.
It probably is the most fun you could have in the winter, right? I mean, you're sliding down a ice sheet, right? And as you said, you love sledding and it's what you did.
It's the biggest sledding hill. Literally, there's no other sledding hill that big. And if anybody knows of a sledding hill as big as a luge track, please let me know because I'm going to come out and, I'm going to attempt it for sure.
Oh, I love it. So when did you realize this wasn't just a thrilling ride, but a path you could pursue pretty seriously?
It was probably longer than you would expect. So did this when I was 8, 9, 10, like loved it. Like I have pictures of me just, at the top in a luge helmet with the bib just going down. But then they actually destroyed the old luge track and put the current combined bobsled skeleton track in Lake Placid in its basically footprint. So the program stopped when I was 10 years old. And the only way to keep doing this was to try out for the team. So at 11 years old, I tried out for the development team. There was a coach that helped run the program that saw me and was like, this kid's got a lot of enthusiasm. When I was 12 years old, I was on the development team, which is based in Lake Placid. And I don't know what my coaches thought, but at 13, they asked me to travel with the junior national team in Europe. And the next youngest kid was 15 years old. And I guess what's even crazier is my parents said yes. So I'm basically at 13 years old traveling around with like seniors in high school, kids that are like about to graduate. And I am going around Europe with Russian coaches, minimal supervision, just trying to survive, terrified, learning new tracks, crashing, bruised up. And what's funny is what actually kept me going in the sport was the fact that I was traveling to Europe, like at 13 years old. I thought it was the coolest thing. Like, I'm from Northern New York. Like, yes, we have French Canadians coming across the border, but I'm meeting people from Austria, Germany, Italy, Latvia, Russia, like all over the world, and going to all these cool cities. And to me, that was like so much fun. I actually didn't really care about the outcome. I just wanted to keep traveling at 13 years old. I'm like, I want to do well in luge. I want to push my limits so I can just keep traveling because I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So that was my true motivation at 13, 14, 15 years old was if I do well, I get to stay in Europe. And so that was what I did. I did well. Like I didn't necessarily, like I cared about results. Like I wanted to do well, but my sights weren't on the Olympics necessarily. It was
Interesting.
just having the best time as a teenager. Then I was 16 years old, and my organization, they were talking to me. They're like, do you think you have a chance to go to the Olympics next year? Like I remember one of like our team, not managers but administrators, asked me that question. It was the summer, I don't know the year, but I was 16 years old, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? They're like, well, if you have a chance to go to the Olympic team, you're going to go to San Diego, you're going to go to Italy to train. And I'm like, yeah, I think I've got a chance, like,
Yeah, I got a chance. Yeah.
not really believing what I was saying. So I did all that, went to San Diego, went to Italy in the summer to train out there. And I was probably, I don't know, 10th to 12th. Like I was back a ways. Like I'm also pretty young. Like I am getting better. And then that season, I really just turned up that season and right away blew past, some of my junior competitors and actually qualified for the World Cup spot. We take 5 US guys and I was that 5th and final guy.
Wow. At 16.
I just turned 17.
17. Wow.
So I was 17 and I made it actually to the World Cup level. And I was like the youngest World Cup competitor. My first race was on the Olympic track in Torino. And I finished in 17th place, like in that world, which was huge.
Yeah.
Really big. And did really well. And I actually missed going to the 2006 Olympics by a 10th of a second race off against a teammate. So
against a teammate. Wow.
Yeah, against a teammate. So I was the alternate, but we don't send an alternate. So I was ranked 4th at 17 years old. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, I feel like I've got a chance. Like I really I'm better than I thought I was. Like I wouldn't say that I was being lazy or lackadaisical. Like I cared. Like I always want to do well. Like I'm hyper competitive. But I guess it was definitely imposter syndrome where I'm like, I'm not as good as like the World Cup guys who are in their like early 30s, like late 20s. I'm 17 years old, like just reality. But I actually made a huge jump and I scared them. Definitely scared them.
So tell me what that was like. I mean, you had this pack of friends that you'd gone and done, Lake Placid with for so long. And then all of a sudden they're seeing you compete at an international level. What was that like for you as a teenager competing, in international competitions and having your group of friends that you started this with?
Yeah, that's a good question. This is going to sound like a really weird answer. So growing up in Lake Placid, if you're an Olympian, so what? Like, that's just kind of like what you do. Like, it has the highest per capita amount of Olympic athletes produced. Like, if you walk down Main Street in Lake Placid, you're going to see an Olympian. I know some of my teammates in recent Olympics, they go home and there's like an Olympic parade for them.
Yeah.
Lake Placid's like, did you get a medal? Then you're going to stand like over here in the back corner. So like as a kid, I learned really fast that Olympians were not superheroes by any means. We just set ambitious goals and we're determined and we have resilience and we can overcome obstacles and we just have this insanely neurotic sometimes pursuit towards those goals. And that's really what the secret sauce is. And I got to see that at 12, 13 years old, where I'm training with Olympians from multiple different sports, not just in luge. I'm staying at the Olympic Training Center in Lake Placid. So I have a front row seat to see some of the best winter athletes compete and train. And I'm like, oh, you're just a normal person. You're in the gym twice a day, 5 days a week, but you're also recovering, but you're also, nailing your diet. You're also doing all of these other, aspects to help improve yourself. It's not just like, oh, I went to the gym for an hour today, I'm done. From a young age, I saw that. So to actually be on the World Cup at 17 didn't feel that weird, to be honest, because other people in the area that I lived did that. Like I wasn't a special person at all. Like I just went to a place where it was normalized.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you think, that you're not a special person, but to the rest of us, not growing up in Lake Placid, like you're a special person, right? But I can understand where you're coming from there because it was normalized for you. Yeah.
It's the environment that you put yourself into. And I love saying this. I really believe that a more difficult and challenging environment is going to create a totally different person than a less demanding environment. And if you're putting yourself in the environment where you're just surrounded by World Cup athletes and that's all you're doing, you become one of them. And it's not.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Competition breeds, the best of people. So
and the worst.
Yeah, true. That's true too.
Totally.
So then you competed in Vancouver and in 2010 and Sochi in 2014, but you really broke through in 2018. Tell us what those early Olympic experiences were like.
Oh man. So I'm actually going to I feel like I broke through in Sochi. And the 2 years
Fair enough, yeah,
PyeongChang were the roughest years of my life. So, yeah, we'll break it down. Every Olympic cycle in my life totally different. Not only obviously like an Olympic cycle is 4 years, and there's a lot of growth that happens, and there's a lot of things that happen in your life over the course of 4 years. But like making Vancouver like your first Olympics, so exciting. So I mean, you feel like you finally did it. But in luge, we had Nodar, a Georgian athlete, fly out of the track on the sixth and final training run, hit a pole, died instantly.
Yeah, I remember that. That was really sad.
Day of opening ceremonies. So that was really difficult because Nodar, with Georgia, the Italian team and the U.S. team, we were all training together the 3 weeks before the Olympics. So kind of got to know the guy a little bit. And so that's like a challenge, right? The Olympics, I always say, the Olympics are totally different than any other race. It doesn't matter how many World Cups, World Championships you go into. The Olympics are a different beast entirely. And I truly believe that just because so many things happen that no one can plan for, logistics, like housing, food, there's so much more media coverage. There's a lot more rules. There's nothing else like it.
Interesting. Like, what do you mean?
Like you can't go over here. You have to stay in these zones. Like your warm-up zone is over here. So for a World Cup, it's you can kind of be in more places where it's a little more strict at the Olympics and it's a little more regimented and there's a lot more pressure and stress.
Is that come from like the coverage of it, or is it just that's the way the Olympics are and they have all these
4 years?
Yeah, true.
And I mean, right now in Salt Lake City, right, we have an OCOG.
Right. Yep.
How many years before? 7 at this point.
A little over 8. Yeah.
Yeah, over 8. Like, yeah, there's 3,000 days or something like that. Something close to that. So, I mean, we're thinking about all of the logistics. We're thinking about housing. We're like, so well planned out in advance that everything is pretty regimented. Where in World Cups and even World Championships, it's not, it's thought out very well, but not to the level of Olympic Games. But that being said, there's always something that is missed and like the dots don't connect. Like in 2014, the U.S. Olympic team in the mountain cluster, we were about, I would say, a half-mile walk to the food hall and about a half-mile walk from where they would pick us up with our sleds. And there was no transportation there. So what's fun about Luge is we're on days 1 and 2 of the Olympics. So we're actually some of the first athletes showing up, and we are the ones that deal with all of the, we didn't think about this. We are the guinea pigs, essentially the Luge team, because we compete on day 1 and 2 and we have to get all of our training in. So in 2018, I was the first athlete from all countries to show up to the train station because I was so sick of traveling. Like the U.S. team was supposed to be down in Seoul. I asked, is the Olympic Village open? I am going up myself. And they said, yeah, it is. And I'm like, cool. And I got on the train, all my gear. And when I got off, all the volunteers, I have all these pictures with hundreds of volunteers because I was the first athlete to come through. And then I'm like, how do I get to the Olympic Village? And they're like, I guess you have to get on a worker bus,
they hadn't thought about that.
Well, yeah, because it came too soon.
Yeah.
So as Luge athletes, we're always dealing with like those fun experiences of like, oh, yeah, we don't have transportation for you. So it's like, this is a drywall sheet, and we give them pins and like a truck full of drywall, and we get on top and we break a couple boards because we're heavy, and if we say thank you, we give them pins in payment, and they drop us off. So the Olympics are just a different beast.
That makes sense. So
2010, we had the death of Nodar, which I saw firsthand, and then we had to change everything that night. And that was like one of the most stressful competitions, where the day before, the way it works is the person who goes first in training, then they go last on the second run. And the U.S. team was the first team to go. So we were first and then last, and then had to take a shuttle back, only had an hour to work on our equipment, get dialed it, tape the bus back. And then I was the number 1 bib. So it was just chaos. Like, you can't plan for that. You're relying on public transportation. Just because you want to be there early doesn't mean that you can't.
Right.
And this is supposed to be the Olympics, and everyone's like, oh, it must be so well thought out. And I'm like, nope, I didn't prepare. I didn't get my sled done. I didn't even get a full warm up in before I just had to run down the track.
Wow. And that's the track that you had to change everything on, right?
Like, we moved down start height. So we were going off the top, which was actually, it was insane. It was the most insane track I still have ever slid on. Vancouver off the top back in 2010. It was nuts. Like no one talked before.
Really?
You could hear a pin drop in that start house. Like, everyone is just so focused, so dialed. Like, no fun was had. It was so intense.
Wow. Okay. So they moved the start spot down. Were you starting at the same spot that like the bobsled started?
So we were actually above them. So we like kind of looked down over their like push.
Which is what you do anyway, right? Losers look down on bobsled athletes anyway. Yeah.
Listen,
it's the hierarchy.
It's no one realizes how technical luge is.
Yeah.
But all the skeleton and bobsled athletes, they know it. So like every skeleton and bobsled athlete listening to this podcast, I know that they're going to be like, yeah, the luge guys are the crazy ones. So the Canadian Olympic team did a study where if you're investing in an athlete, doesn't matter the sport, they were trying to figure out, okay, we've spent all this money on this athlete. Could we pivot them to another sport perhaps? And how long would it take them to, gain the skills required to compete at the World Cup level? So they found out that in skeleton, it takes about a week and a half to get to your World Cup start height. In bobsled as a driver, it takes about 2 weeks to get to the World Cup start height. Now, as a brakeman or a brakewoman, like you're just running and jumping in right off the top. And then in luge, it takes about 4 years to get to your World Cup start height.
Oh my gosh.
It's a very big difference.
Wow.
We are unlike skeleton and bobsled. So skeleton and bobsled, the big difference is their runners are mostly round. So they're kind of sliding a lot on the track. And also like you have bumpers.
Yeah.
Where my arm sticks out. So when I hit a wall, it's me.
Your arm. Yeah.
It's me. And so there's a lot of factors because our runners are sharp. Yes, we can drive a more precise line. Now, when we go into a curve and we start skidding, though, if we hit the G-forces and catch, now we're flying up to the top of the curve, down the curve. Like we can really mess ourselves up. Where with skeleton and bobsled, you're more sliding because your runners are more round. Now, skeleton does have a groove down the middle, which does give them grip, but it's not nearly as much as we have.
Interesting.
We're the fastest and most dangerous of the sliding sports.
Wow. And like me as a neophyte, right, watching these things, I would think that skeleton is because you're going head first down this thing, but you're saying no, it's...
Did you see the most recent team captain of USA skeleton bobsled?
Not yet.
What? If you're look, Google this.
Okay.
Flavor Flav skeleton.
Oh, yes. I saw that. Yes.
So, Flavor Flav is going to be like the team captain for bobsled skeleton. And so he took a ride down on a skeleton sled. First time ever, got clocked at 65 miles an hour. He went from halfway up the track. They pushed him down. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay on a skeleton sled. I would never do that halfway up the track with someone on luge. Like, you will hurt yourself.
Wow. Okay.
So, like, that's just happened
like 2 weeks, last week. 2 weeks ago, right?
Not like a week ago. Or
Yeah.
That would take you a solid year. Yeah, probably a solid year of training every day for months to be able to go off that start height in luge.
Wow. That's incredible.
So totally different. That's why we're so young. If we start after the age of 15, it's too late. You don't actually build the skills required for the sport. Like, so it's an experience-based sport. It's all these tiny little movements, like my shoulders, my hips, my feet, my hands, like my head, all drive this sled. Where in bobsled, you pull right or pull left. Like, I lean a little, it's not really going to do much to the sled. Where if we tense up or like look, that can like break the sled drive and crash just by really
doing that.
Like
wow.
That.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's so much I can dive into it. But yeah, anyways, bottom line, lugers, we're the crazy ones.
That's what it sounds like, for sure. So you broke through in Sochi in 2014, and then you win your medal in 2018, right?
Yeah. So at Vancouver 2010, I finished 13th place. That was my best international result ever, which is a good time to do it, like at the Olympic Games.
Yeah, for sure, right?
And then I'm slowly plugging away. And at 25 years old, which was the year right before Sochi, I got 6th place at World Championships, which then qualifies me for a stipend. So I used to was bartending. I was a banquet captain. I was, doing as much work on the side as I could, like working overtime essentially a week. And at 25, got that. And I got in my car, drove to Salt Lake City. And I was like, this is home. I'm a professional athlete. I make $2,000 a month. Like, I am on the up. Like, life is. And then I everything on luge. Then the year after, I finished 5th overall in the world. And that was the year of Sochi. Now, at that Olympics, I finished 13th. But Russia they had 4 guys in the top 10. Germany had 4 guys in the top 10. Austria, and then like the Canadian, myself, Swiss. Like, right, like I did pretty well compared to whatever those countries were doing. Like, luge is a technology-based sport. We're like the Formula One of the sliding sports, where bobsled skeleton is more like NASCAR. You hear all the pieces; they're pretty similar. Put it together. Where in luge, it's like, is it under this weight? Does it fit in this box? Like, we don't care what materials go.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's like watching Drive to Survive F1. I'm like, that is luge, because you'll have Like there were races where Germany went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like no one could touch them. Like unless one of their athletes really messed up, you weren't catching them. So it's a huge technology sport. And I don't think people realize that, where when things are working out, they are just working out. And we had Dow Chemical come in and help us with our equipment. And then after Sochi, I finished 5th overall in the world. The year after that, I finished 3rd overall in the world. Like actually won 2 World Cups. I actually won 2 World Cups straight up.
That's cool.
Amazing. And like here I am at 27 years old. I'm like, my start's really good. I feel like I'm sliding incredible. My equipment, like I'm competing with the Germans and Austrians. Like this is fun. And then going into that next year, for whatever reason, 10th place was my best result for the entire year. Like I won race and then 11th. So we do rule changes every 2 years. And for whatever rule changes they made, we didn't figure it out.
Interesting. Yeah.
Everyone says, yeah, I hate when athletes blame like their equipment. I'm like, I don't want to blame my equipment, but we definitely didn't catch up to what others were doing.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
And so at the end of that season, going into Olympic year, I had to get shoulder surgery, which I've had a bunch of surgeries in my career. That's just par for the course. And as I was recovering, one thing that's really nice. So not only was I an athlete, but I sat on our Federation of International Luge executive board. So I sat on the IF board from 2012 to 2020. Yeah, 8 years. And I also sat on USA Luge executive board, and being on that executive board, my son just coming in.
Oh, good. I love it.
And so then what happened is I found out, because I had access to our high performance plan, that our sport program director ranked me last of all the athletes to get an Olympic medal in PyeongChang. Like I just had shoulder surgery. I didn't have the best year, but I believed in myself. I was like, no, like I know I'm actually really good at this sport, despite what the results say. I'm going to get my start back. Like I know I can do this. And I had such conviction with that I actually sold my car to have cash on hand to buy equipment. Like luge equipment isn't cheap. There's no manufacturer. Like every country kind of builds their own equipment. So I was going to try to kind of poach some equipment from other nations, which does happen. There's some black market stuff that happens where.
Really? Wow. Okay.
No, guy. So anyways, mentally, I feel great. And I was recovering well. Season, and this is like 2018 Olympic season, and my results did not come out how I wanted them to be. It was like 15th, 20th, like 25th. We're just less than 2 years ago, I won races. I was 3rd overall in the world. And I was actually the 3rd and final U.S. guy to qualify for the 2018 Olympics.
Interesting. Okay.
So I was 3rd overall in the world. Now I'm 3rd in the U.S. And I just have no idea what is happening, but I'm giving 100%, and I'm only getting 10% back. And that's something that I don't think people realize, that as an athlete, obviously you don't want your results to define you, but ultimately equipment allocation, funding, sponsors, all of that is based on results. And if you're not getting results, you have all of these other aspects of your life telling you that, yeah, you're not really worth what you think you are. So like that self-perception was really difficult for me that season, where I believed in myself. I knew I could do it, but for whatever reason, it was not happening at all.
Wow.
What's important is like I would work on my sled. Like I was one of the few athletes that would do a lot of their own sled work. Like I'd obviously consult with coaches and have them help, but that means I have the ability to make changes. And one thing is, I don't want to live with regret. So if I can make changes, I'm doing that. So my wife some of her friends, when we first started dating, they're like, do you ever get worried that Chris is like in Europe, like running around like by himself? And she's like, no, I went over to Europe once to watch him. And basically 6 p.m. to midnight, he's in a windowless room in the basement, working on his sled, like changing things to like the 10th of a millimeter.
Wow. Yeah.
Absolutely true. What we do.
Wow.
It's annoying. That's the part of the no one and is the most miserable, and it sucks, and your fingers hurt, and it would be like 11 p.m. You're almost there, and then you realize that you did something wrong and you messed it up, and it's not like you can just like, well, do it in the morning. You have to train in the morning. So you're like, I got to redo this right now.
Right.
You're going just exhausted, and you wake up exhausted, and you're just you're burning like the flame on both sides. And then you show up to the World Cup race, have a great race, and you're 25th place. And they're like, you suck. And it's like, no, you have no idea. Literally the last 3 days, I slept 6 hours a night, and the other 18 hours were 100% luge.
Wow. So much dedication.
Well, that's just something nobody sees. And so with 2 races left to PyeongChang, in Lillehammer, I felt like I really pushed my sled. So with luge, we have sharp runners, and if you reduce the friction, you go faster, but you need to have some sort of context. You're constantly playing with this. How far can I push my limits? And that's what you go faster, equipment, materials. There's all these other ways, but essentially the thing that you have the most control of is how much friction are you going to give yourself? What's the angle? What's the roll? And in Lillehammer, I thought I pushed it really far. I had a decent race, and it was better, but it was like 19th. And it was like, right, with 1 race left, basically what I needed was a top 3 I needed a top 5 in order to qualify for a stipend, but I was about to lose that. So at 29 years old, if you lose your funding, like you're retiring. Yeah. So basically that realization set in. And I remember walking back from the track in Lillehammer. It's probably, 5 miles. People are trying to pick me up like, oh, you need a ride? I'm like, no, just like walking, thinking to myself, just like coming to the realization that it's probably over, and who am I? And a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm going to go on vacation and discover myself. Sometimes you just need a dark room to like, who you are, like in the moments where you haven't given up, but you feel like the world has given up, and your expectations of yourself and your perception of self is so jumbled and not aligned. And I did a social media post, and it was like, I don't know it verbatim, but I'm like, I'm stumbling aimlessly in this dark tunnel, and somewhere there's a light. I can't seem to find it. But you better damn well believe I'm going to try to find this until the very last moment, essentially like that. And that was the Lillehammer. So we go off to Sigulda, which was the last race of the World Cup season before the Olympics. And something that I talk about, like with public speaking, which probably might write it down. I'm going to have to get permission for this. But when I got to Sigulda, Latvia, one of my friends, Sam Edney, gave me a call, and he's like, hey, Chris, Semen Pavlichenko is looking for you. And Semen was the previous year's world champion. He's Russian. And like he doesn't speak English. I don't speak Russian, but like I've known him for a decade.
Yeah.
Fun fact, the reason, so what's really fun about the luge circuit is, how I mentioned like you start traveling around the world at like 13, 15. Everyone knows each other from 13, 14, 15 years old. We've been doing this our entire lives. And it's not like ski cross where like elbows happen. Like, sure, might be jealous that this guy did well, but I'm not sabotaging him. So there's this huge we grew up here, and it's a small world, and we've been around. So like, I would say some of my best friends are my closest competitors.
That's really cool. Actually, I like that.
I forget how old I was. I was like 17 or 18. I'll never forget this in Calgary. Got a knock on the door where there's like 3 people in our room. And it was these like 2 Russian guys with a bottle of vodka and a Russian English dictionary. And we just spent the night like a couple hours just drinking vodka and just talking to each other and having a great time. Like we have fun.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I love it.
Transcends politics. It transcends everything. So I've actually known the Russians for a while. Besides of what you think, it's like, man, the Russians just have a crazy mentality. It's like nothing is impossible. Like, it's no problem. It's just a crazy mindset they have. He was 30. It was a heart attack. It's normal. But so Simon Pavlichenko is looking for me. So I call Vladislav, who speaks the best English on the Russian team, who I've known, because like as the athlete rep, I'm always going to Vladislav anyways to like talk with them. And so Vladislav's like, yeah, come to the track. Like, Simon wants to tell you something. I'm like, I'll be there. So I drive to the track. I meet up with Vlad, and he translates for me. And so Simon's like, hey, Chris, like, I see you trying really hard. And this was when the Russian doping scandal was happening. And he said, I don't think I'm going to the Olympics, but I want you to go to the Olympics and win a medal on my sled. Because he and his like coach build sleds themselves.
Wow.
And I was like, excuse me? And he's like, yeah, like I see how hard you're trying. And if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be you. And so he literally gave me his sled, which I said the analogy earlier, Luge is like F1. It'd be like Red Bull or Mercedes giving like Haas their car. Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Luge, it doesn't happen. I don't think this has ever happened before. And it was like such like a big moment where he's like, yeah, the sled will be waiting for you for your session. And I'm like, okay, like I'm showing up. And then the Russian's like, maybe try braking, because in Segula, the track is crazy. Like Luge is kind of nuts. And to go on a totally different sled and system, everyone's like, you're like, I told one, like my teammate Tucker, I room with, and he's like, are you really going to do this? Like, that's crazy. I'm like, I've got nothing left to give. Like, I have given so much. So I actually show up to the track, and he's waiting there like at the start with me, because like there's still like secrets and stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, puts the sled down, and I actually wore all of my race equipment, and the Russians love that. They're like, oh yes, yeah, like like I'm not breaking, like I'm not playing this safe. I'm like gonna go for it. But the problem is the sleds are really built for the individual, and I'm a little bigger than him. So my center of balance was a little bit off, I'm guessing, which it was off the sharp part and more to the roll. And I had 2 terrible runs. Like, could not control this sled. It was out of control. So that was kind of a fail. But 2 things happened from that. First, like I really felt seen by this little like every news outlet was saying Russia and US should hate each other. And here's this Russian athlete who is literally extending his sled to me, which is like the biggest. It's incredible. But also you got to feel the sled a little bit. And that night I was up till like 2 a.m. making changes. I didn't have the exact numbers because I didn't carry anything with me, but I had an idea of what to do. And then 2 days later was the World Cup, and I got 6th place.
Wow. Okay. So you make it.
Something happened, and it was like amazing because I was actually close to 3rd, but also the realization you didn't get 3rd. So you just lost your stipend. You lost all your funding. This is it. And so it was like, it was kind of bittersweet, but it was nice knowing like the speed's kind of there. It's kind of there. And now we're going off to the Olympics. And what's funny about 2018 is you couldn't even bet on me. Like in Europe, Luge is actually pretty big, and there's some sophisticated betting. And I forget what the odds were. I think it was like 1,000 to 1, and I was beyond that.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Okay.
You couldn't even bet on me. So, like, no one had faith in me. Also, I sold my car, and I actually purchased some steals. So I spent some of that money on equipment. So I'm really like, all right, well, I'm got a couple $1,000s left in the bank account. I sold my car, and I'm off to the Olympics for the final race of my career.
So let me pause you for a sec. When did you know that you'd made the Olympic team as an American?
5th World Cup race. No, yeah, for Beijing, they changed it. For 2018, it was by Christmas. So the 5th final race was in Lake Placid, and I was the 3rd and final guy. Tucker was the first to qualify, and then Taylor Morris qualified right before I did.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a great question to ask. Like, so much happens, John, like over the course of a career, where it's like people forget qualifying for the Olympics is the most stressful part. Like
for sure. Yeah.
Like this pit in your stomach. Like you've got like the whole Olympic season, there's this like stress ball. until you actually do qualify. And then going to the Olympics, there's actually less pressure.
Really?
Because internal, you want to qualify for the Olympics so bad. But then once you qualify, then it's more external pressure, I feel like, in expectations of others. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
I would say internally, qualifying for the Olympics is so stressful because I mean, one nice thing is this year I got to help write the USA Luge Olympic selection policy, and I got to
cool
4 years of knowledge and like, all right, let's change it up a little bit, and these are the ideas, and I think we actually have a solid policy, but you get injured and you're done. Like, I know we're going off a tangent. We'll come back to 20.
That's okay. Yeah.
For the 2022 Olympics, I actually was the only luge athlete. I built, designed, purchased equipment all on my own. So I'm the only luge athlete that fully owns their sled. That's why in the US. So that's why I can still slide. I can go to Park City. I've got my sled and net that I built for myself, and it's ready to go. But
that's cool.
Right as we're going into preseason, like I have all this equipment to test. Like I've had multiple Kufins, I've got multiple seals. Kufins are the horns, and there's different stiffnesses and flex depending on what I'm trying to accomplish. And on the second day of training, I didn't crash, but I was in Russia, and there was this ice nub on the wall, and my foot came over, and I stubbed like my outside toes, and I shattered these bones. I felt like a sledgehammer hit my foot. Like, God, get up. I'm like trying to walk it off. And our athletic trainer comes over and he's like, hey, I think you broke your foot. And I'm like, how do you know? And he's like, it's 3/4 of an inch shorter.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, wait, a lot shorter.
Oh my God.
Like all those it's broke. And so I was like, oh yeah, we should probably get an X-ray. And so then it's Olympic year. So you have to still go to the races and qualify. So I flew right back to the US, like on a broken foot, got surgery, pins and plates, healed for 5 weeks, went back out for the first World Cup. And then luckily I had a bye through the first couple race offs. But if there wasn't that automatic bye, I'm out.
So how do you get a bye?
Previous year's results. So there was an injury clause that you could pull to move past to make it to the World Cup team. So we didn't have an automatic bye to the Olympics, but I had a bye through the qualification process. So I was one of those spots that was kind of like a shoe-in for the World Cup team that year.
Got it. Okay.
From the World Cup team, we're then pulling athletes to the much smaller Olympic team.
How many athletes are on the World Cup team?
5.
And then 3 on the Olympic team, right?
This Olympic is 4 on the World Cup, and going to be 2 to 3 on the Olympics. So yeah, they changed. So like when I was competing, it was 5 guys that went to 3 for the Olympics.
Why the difference now?
So quota spots, Olympic quota spots. So there is a cap on the total number of athletes that can compete at the Winter Olympics. When you start adding new disciplines, that comes from the 2700. So like ski mountaineering, that is a whole new added sport. And that means that everyone else had to like remove a couple spots. What happened in luge is that we added women's doubles. So doubles was actually co-ed. It was an open discipline, but only men raced in it. So they then made women's doubles, and that we had to create how many? We had to open up like 30 plus quota spots. So we had to take that from men's doubles, women's, and men's single. So that's why it kind of shrunk. So we added a whole new discipline into our Olympic sport, and our quota spots remain the same.
Wow. Okay. Did you ever do doubles?
Did.
Okay.
For the last spot, I was the only guy racing in both singles and doubles in the world. So I was doing it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little crazy.
Okay. Yeah. You're real crazy.
I've done luge. Let's just say I have covered International Federation, Executive Board, FNGB. I've done all this sports disciplines. I've crashed hard. I've failed more than I've succeeded, but yeah, I've definitely also succeeded a little bit.
Yeah. Let's go back to PyeongChang, 2018.
Okay.
So you're the last. You qualify, but you lose your stipend.
Basically, at that point, because there's been no non-European man that's ever medaled in men's singles luge. It's Europe.
Right.
It's Germany.
All Europe.
It's Austria. It's Italy. Russia.
Yeah. Okay. Man.
Those are medalists. Those countries right there.
What about the Scandinavian countries? Did they ever medal in luge? Every once in a while?
It's been a long time ago.
Okay.
Sweden doesn't really, they have a small program. Norway has a little program, but it's mostly, the sport's been dominated by Germany.
Yeah.
For a long time. Austria right now, I think, is the top dog going into this Olympics. Austria's made some really big moves over the last decade. Italy, obviously, right now has put a tremendous amount of funding. Once they have its Milan Cortina, so they purchased some really good coaches. They'll be competitive. And an underdog that you can never count out is Latvia. In the sliding sport, never sleep on Latvia. Yeah, it's been a European-dominated sport, for sure. But I finished 6th in the final World Cup, which I'm not going to lie, that's really encouraging. When you're finishing 30th.
Right, yeah.
Like out of 20th, and you're like 6th. There's a huge jump from 20th place to 6th place, where all of a sudden you're like, I can be competitive.
Right.
And then logistically, if you want to hear the worst possible way to get to an Olympics, so the night before I got 6th place, we were staying in Sigulda, Latvia. Okay, then we pack up. Now we're going to spend the night in Riga, Latvia. Then we fly into Germany and we stay in Mainz, Germany, outside of Frankfurt.
Right, okay.
The next night, we are on an airplane from Frankfurt to Seoul. The next night, we are at Team USA in processing. The next night, they were going to bring us to the Army base. So we were going to spend 3 nights at the Army base. That's, I forget which one. And like, after my 6th night on a different bed, I was just like, get me to the Olympic Village. Is it open?
Yes.
And we're the first people to go. And they're like, yeah, it technically did open today. I'm like, I'm going. Like, John, I am very good with logistics. I do, like, people like consult with people for vacations. I am fine with logistics. Other countries, other languages. My wife and I, we took a 1 and 4-year-old to Switzerland for 12 days, going in and out of trains. Like, I'm fine. I've got all my luggage, got my sled, get up to the Olympic Village. I'm one of the first people to the entire village. And it's like, okay, just calm down. Like, this is it. Like, make yourself home, get out your sled, make sure you start dialing this in. So the first day, so there's only 6 time training runs before the Olympic race, which I think people don't realize. 6 runs is not a lot.
No. I mean, you got to get used to the turns and the ice and all that kind of stuff, right?
It's like the ice conditions, it's how they're built. So we've had weeks of training, but if there's a millimeter of ice more here or here, you're trying to calculate what you need to do to get that perfect line and do the least amount of possible to be like right where you need to be.
Question for you. So I was talking to Kat Rainey Norman about her, ice, speed skating. And she's like, I woke up every day when I was competing and looked at the barometer to see what the ice was going to be like. Was that something that you did, like with ice conditions? Just look at what's the air pressure outside, or is it dropping? Is it, raising? Did you ever do that kind of stuff?
I mean, if we're tuning our equipment to the 10th of a millimeter, yeah. So we pull barometers. We'll measure ice temps. There are curves where refrigeration, like especially if it's a little bit warmer, there's refrigeration. So there's some curves that are colder than others. So it's going to be like, if you're pushing the limits, those curves you have to watch out for because they're going to be a little slipperier. But also like feeling the ice, the humidity. There's so many, like, ice is not ice. And there's not if there's a Zamboni that goes down the track and makes it perfect, right? Like, it's done by hand.
Yeah.
The Olympics, there's a lot of hands, and it is as close to perfect as possible. I will say that. Olympic ice is pretty sweet. But yeah, like and this is actually a really good point. So like the first day of training out of everybody, I'm like 5th, 6th place with those runs. But then it starts getting really cold, like really cold. And I remember coaches like Lubo and Banked and Bill coming up. It's like, hey, like the men's race at the Olympics, we're looking at the temps and it's going to be below 0 Fahrenheit. Like it's going to be really cold. And right now we're training in like 20 degrees. Like the ice is going to be a lot harder. We should play it safe. Like you're not going to be able to make it through curve 9, which was this really tricky curve without some grip. And so they're making changes. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like this is, you guys don't realize, like I grew up in Lake Placid, one of the coldest places in the Saranac Lake, the town where my parents lived, John. Just a couple years ago, the entire month of February, the average temperature for the whole month, 1 degree Fahrenheit. They were mandated to run a pencil-thick stream of water so pipes aren't bursting. Like that's where I grew up. I was training in Lake Placid with those conditions.
Yeah.
No one else in the world trains in below 0 weather. Maybe the Russians, as much as I have growing up. And I'm like, no.
But the Russians weren't there, right? And you're on a Russian sled. Oh, they
were there.
Okay.
They did get to go. But in my mind, I'm like, no. Like I've been training in Lake Placid. Like one thing that I think made me really good in the sport of luge is the Europeans after the World Cup circuit, like end of February, they're done. They're like first week of March, they're done. And Lake Placid, I would slide all through March and into April. And in March, it is pretty dang cold.
Yeah.
So like I would slide in below 0 weather all the time. Like this is home. So I'm like, no, like this is my shot. I've got to go for it. Like I'm actually going to make myself more round. They're like, you're crazy. Like you won't be able to make it through curve 9. I'm like, well, let's find out. Next day, those next 2 runs, I'm like 3rd, 4th. And it's like, okay. And like, it still wasn't super cold yet. It was still like, all right, 10, 15 degrees. And then going into the final day of training, I was like top 3. All 2 runs were top 3. And it was out of control. Like I was on the verge of being out of control, but I'm like, this is it. I've got to push it. Like this is all I can do at this moment. Like people might have a faster sled than me, but I will go all out. And I'll actually never forget Sam Mishner. He was a bobsledder. So the bobsledders arrived for opening ceremonies, even though they don't train for a little while. And he saw me in the bus. He's like, hey, how are you going to do? And I'm like, well, I'm either going to crash or I'm going to win. He remembers that too. I'm like, listen, I am going for it. I'm either going to crash or win. But remember how I said that, like, you can never predict the Olympics?
Yeah.
I will say this, and I have no problem saying it. As an executive board member of the Federation of International Luge, I was never paid. I flew across Europe a lot for a lot of meetings. It was a lot of work. And the one benefit I got was I was a board member and I got a room in PyeongChang.
Wow. Okay.
And I made my dad my spouse. So he actually had a better credential than I did. I was married to Ed Mazdzer. I know it sounds really weird, but he could go backstage. But that means my wife stayed at that room just so like she could come. Like we had guaranteed house for her.
Yeah.
It's really complicated. And she was staying at a different place than my parents. So at the end of opening ceremonies, she went to that with my parents, and my mom and dad, they thru hiked the Appalachian Trail. My mom's very good with maps. I love my wife. She is not the best with directions, especially in a foreign country like Korea. So I tell my mom, like, hey, Mom, make sure Mara gets on the bus. And it's just before midnight, and I get a text, like I was eating, like our races are at 10 o'clock at night. So we're staying up till 1 or 2 in the morning anyways, just trying to adjust.
Right.
And I get a text from my mom, hey, Mara's on the bus. Mara sends me a text, hey, I'm on the bus. I'm like, great, cool. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to start winding down. And then about 15 minutes later, I get a call from my wife, and she's like, so don't worry. I'm totally fine, but I have no idea where I am. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know where you are? And luckily he could drop me a pin, and I look at the pin, and she's at like a parking lot in the middle of nowhere, like 10 miles from anything.
Yeah.
And come to find out, the bus drivers after midnight didn't have to follow their normal stops. So they just went wherever they wanted. Talk about like first day problems. And I'm like, and it's freezing cold. It's like 0 degrees, John. So I'm like, okay. So I run over to my manager's room, wake him up, and I'm like, Keith, I know you have a USOPC vehicle. I need the keys. And he's like, Chris, I can't give you keys to a vehicle in Korea. Like, no. I'm like, Keith, I'm not asking you. Like, I'm telling you, give me the keys. Like, there is no politeness in this tone. Do you recognize that, Keith? He's like, I can't do that. I'm like, well, I can't sleep. And my Olympic race is tomorrow. And if you want to affect my Olympic race right now, you have to give me the keys. And like basically convinced him to like give me the keys. And so I borrowed a car without asking, then picked up my wife, drove her back to her hotel room, and I was like back in bed at like 1:30 in the morning. Like, that's the stuff that they don't tell you before your Olympic competition. But if you're dialed, like, nothing will throw you off. It's just like, this is what I have to do. And that was my first time ever driving in Korea, which I thought was funny. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
So, a lot more happens. Like, a couple nights before that, I was in that room. This is also another funny story. The taxis weren't taking people anywhere. So you couldn't get a taxi. You couldn't pick up the phone and get a hold of a taxi at all. And luckily my dad, I told you about that credential. I think it's called T3. He has access to all the private shuttles, like all the cars that you need like a special credential, because he's essentially an International Federation board member.
Right.
He's doing all the errands for everybody. And I don't even have that. And I was staying with my wife because we had like training a little bit later, and I just couldn't sleep. I just wasn't comfortable. I'm like, I need to get back to the Olympic Village, and this is like midnight. And so she's like, yeah, like, you train, like, you do what you need to do. She's like, go. Like, so I go down to the front desk and I'm like, hey, can I get a taxi to the Olympic Village? And they're like, no. And I'm like, what do you mean no? They're like, they're not picking up. And they're like, see, like, sure enough, they weren't. And something that I think a lot of people should do in other countries, always ask somebody, like, if you were me, what would you do? Yeah. And I asked that to these two guys, and I'm like, okay, if you were me, what would you do? And they're like talking, and they're like, they started writing things down and creating, like, okay, there's a bus. It's meant only for workers. Like, you have to, here's the map to get to the stop, and it leaves in 10 minutes. You have to run right now. Just go. And I'm like, okay. Just, I'm like just running to this stop. And when I get there, there's no bus. And
no bus?
There's no bus. I didn't make it in time. And I'm just like, oh God, I gotta like walk to the Olympic Village, and it's a couple miles. And I'm like, well, at least it's a nice, crisp night. I'm just going for a walk by myself. Here we go. And I'm walking, and all of a sudden I noticed that like there's the 60 passenger buses that are just stopped, and the drivers, or I don't know where they are, but there's this one bus that was idling. And I look in, and the driver's sleeping on the steering wheel. And I knock on the door, and he's like, shooing me away. And I hold up the paper that the Korean guys like from the front desk wrote for me, which is like, take me to the Olympic Village or something like that. And I just hold it up, and he's just like, go away. And I'm just like knocking, like, I'm just persistent. Like,
yeah, I love it.
Culture in Korea is kind of like that. So you just gotta be persistent. And he opens the thing, and he like looks at it, and I'm just like, here, there, go, like just drawing a line. And he's like he doesn't speak English. So I give him a pen, and he's like, looks at it. And it was a good one, like Team USA, like we only get 20 Luge pens. And he's like, no. I just give him another pen, and he's just like, sit down. And I took a 60 passenger bus a couple miles to the Olympic Village by myself. The Olympics are wild. Like, you just make some stuff like that happen. But yeah, like that's what I mean. Like the night before my race, like stealing a car, like you just got to make it happen. So then here's the competition. And Luge is unique at the Olympics because it's a 4-run race over 2 days. There's no other race like that. World Cups are 2 runs. World Championships are 2 runs, but the Olympics are 4. So
are the other sliding sports like that?
Bobsled did the 4-run World Championship.
Okay.
But otherwise, we're all 4 runs at the Olympics.
Okay.
And the way that the seeding works is the top 12 going in get to go in the first group. Then 13 to 24 get to go in the next group, and it's a random order. And I just made it to like, with that 6th place, it dropped me into the top 24. So my bib's number 13. The 2 previous Olympics, I finished 13th, and I'm like, oh, this has got to be a good omen. Like,
lucky number 13. I love it.
So the top 12 guys have gone. I pull off, and I'm in 6th place after the first run. And no one was kind of expecting that. And it was this pretty cool feeling where it's like, okay, like we got a shot, like, because you don't win it in one run. You got to be consistent, 4 runs total time. So I'd put myself in place like, all right, we're close. The second run, the seeds flip. So I went from 13th to 24th, and it was a very cold night. So the ice gets harder and harder and more difficult and more difficult. And it's like 3 minutes between sleds. So I'm literally like an hour, 15 minutes into the competition. So all the best guys have basically left at this point where I go off. And I come up in 4th place, 0.02 of a second outside of 3rd. So if this was any other race, World Cup, World Championships, I just finished 4th. My career's over. It is officially over by 0.02 of a second. What's fun is like having my family and friends there, like cheering for me when like everyone else had left. Like, it's too cold. Like, all the best people have left. And then they like get like, Chris is in 4th now all of a sudden.
And you were the last to go then?
We had 40 guys.
Oh, 40. Okay.
So there's like 2 hours of like, I didn't stick around for the 40th guy because it is just too cold. It's like, you got to get back, dial in your equipment, get ready for the next day. What was nice is that little break. So at lunch, my family and friends met me at the Procter & Gamble house. That was kind of up there as like the Team USA Athlete Haven. And right next was the Procter & Gamble house. So there I'm having lunch with them. And I'll never forget the conversation. It was like my girlfriend at the time, now wife, my parents, my friend Mike, Neil, my sisters are there, and Mara, my wife, is like, Chris, like, just go for it. You don't have a car, you don't have any money, but if you mess up, I will catch you. Like, you can live with me. You and your bicycle can live with me until you get back up on your feet. And like, basically everyone was just like, go for it. Like, everything's riding on this. Who cares? Like, this has been your entire life. Just do it. We've got you.
Full send.
Full send.
Yeah. Love it.
And it was such a special moment, just like truly believing that, like, yeah, I got this. 100%. Let's go. And it was like showing up, like one of my coaches, Bank, like took a video of me getting off the bus, and I'm just like in the best mood, just like having a great time. And something that's never happened before, I cried in my warm up on my 3rd run because I felt so good. Like, it just like,
wow.
This is where I was like meant to be. Like, my entire life brought me to this moment, and it was like the coolest feeling, but weird, where you're just like, well, I don't know, I'm warming up and there's cameras. I'm gonna go to this stairwell here because and just because I felt so good, I was like overwhelmed with emotion. And that 3rd run at the Olympics in PyeongChang, like, I always say this, you'll never have a perfect run in luge. Like, you can never think about being perfect. In my mind, it's about fastest fix, not making a mistake.
That makes sense.
But
yeah,
if there was a run that was perfect, it was that 3rd run in PyeongChang. Like, I came up and I'm like, I actually don't know what like fist pump it was, because like the 3rd, I came up and I'm like boom, and I saw that I'm in 2nd place.
Yeah.
But in my like, coach is like, Chris, you just set a track record. Like, holy shit. Like, oh my, like, and I didn't believe him, because that entire season, my best single run was 6th place. Basically, like, I'm like fighting for 20th place, 30th place. And like, at the Olympics, you just set a track record.
That's
I didn't believe him until after the race. And so what's also really fun, like, no one expected that too. So like, come up in 2nd place, just I'm feeling incredible. And a question that a lot of people ask me, they're like, what was the best moment of your career? Was it getting the medal? Like, was it like coming across the finish line and knowing like you got an Olympic medal? And I can say with certainty that the best moment of my career was actually on the handles for my 4th run. Cause like, you have to imagine there's like a few moments in life where everything after this moment is different, regardless. So like, proposing to the love of your life, regardless of what
right.
it is.
Yep.
Your life is different. Like, holding your firstborn child, your life is different. And for me, it was that 4th run where I either pulled off the handles and got an Olympic medal and could continue the sport that I love, or I'm literally losing everything, and I'm starting life over with a bicycle. Like that was it. Like those were the only two options. That was it. Like it was the biggest, most high pressure situation I've ever been in my entire life. And on the handles, I actually smile because I knew I had it before I began. And I just I felt so good. And it was like freezing cold. All the other competitions were canceled. So everyone had to watch Luge. It was the only
I remember that. Yeah. Yes.
And so everyone's freezing, everyone's nervous. And here I am, I smile. And it wasn't planned. I just looked down the ramp and it's like, this is my life. This is what I put everything into. And I'm like, I'm not nervous at all. I'm ready. And it was like flow state. Everyone talks about flow state and how to get into it. I'm like, I've only been in flow state a few times. That was one of them. Where it's just like,
what a great moment to be in flow state though, right? Your last run, you're about to just full send and you're in flow state. That's amazing.
Yeah. And for sure the Austrian sleds were faster. I had a better end than David. I came up in second place, 27 thousandths of a second behind him. But I won a medal, right? So it's like I got a silver medal and it felt like winning. It was pretty cool. But definitely the best moment was knowing who I was before that moment. Results didn't actually define who I was. And in that moment, I got a silver medal at the Olympics, which is really ironic. When you're like,
right,
my results. And it truly wasn't. And my family and friends will attest, they're like, did the medal change, Chris? And they're like, no, it just changed what he could do. He figured out who he was in those terrible 2 years leading up to that moment. Because everyone's like, what was that build like? And I'm like, it was a crash. I believed in myself. I knew I was there. I knew I was at the top, but results would show you the complete opposite.
Crazy. But you made history, right? You're the first man in the U.S. to ever medal in singles luge.
Yeah, only non-European.
Only non-European ever still, right?
Ever. Yeah.
What, tell me about that. When did that hit you?
A little bit later.
Really? Okay.
Where it's well, that was kind of a big deal. It's Germany, Austria, Italy. If you look at results for going back forever, you're seeing those three countries, one Latvian and one Russian. That's it.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, so what does that medal mean to you? Not just personally, but for the luge, community in the US.
Well, I think a couple things. It's we live on the road. The Europeans, we always make fun of them when they have to leave their family for 4 weeks. They're miserable after 4 weeks and they're like, oh, we're sick. And I'm like, no, you're just homesick. Welcome to our world. We're
right,
all
yeah.
the time. Get out of here. Actually, one of my favorite bibs is, how's this? This one right here. So these are the 4 German tracks, and I've medaled on all 4 German tracks, and those are 4 medals from them. That's actually
cool.
That's one of my favorites because it's going to Germany and coming out on top.
That's incredible. Yeah, especially with their history. Right?
Yeah, they're pretty good in their home country. So we can compete. It's difficult. It's gonna take a lot of resilience. You have to go to all these places to compete, to learn, to struggle, to grow. And it's challenging for US athletes to compete in Europe against Europeans that are, they just have it a little bit easier. But it just shows that it's possible. Even when people don't believe in you, I think as athletes, we can always cheer for each other. Because my teammates knew I could do it. I have the high performance plan saved. So when everyone's calls BS, I'm like, actually, you can see, notice who is last on the list. That is an actual document. It's motivating sometimes. It pisses you off, but then you're like, no, I'm better than that.
Yeah, for sure. It's like the football team that has the previous week's media clippings on the board saying we're gonna go kill those guys, right? Yeah.
They're toast. They're not gonna survive, and you're like, no, watch us. But I think what was one of the best things, though, I will say this. So you get drug tested after getting an Olympic medal, and you don't get home until really late, because then you like go right into media stuff. It was probably like, and then you're like, I want to see my friends, and they stayed out till 3 a.m. for you. So then you're hanging out with them. Got back at like 4 a.m. I still have like, now I qualified for team, so I have a race in a couple days. So I'm just but on a high. Like I didn't sleep for 48 hours and I wasn't tired. It was the weirdest.
Right.
But I came back, and in our giant apartment, the way it was set up, like the coaches also stayed there. It was like myself, Tucker, and then like the rest of the coaches. And there were empty wine bottles, and you could tell that the coaches celebrated. And I'm like, man, I wish I would have celebrated with you guys. Like it meant a lot to me. And actually something I just kind of cleaned out this drawer. I'm going to probably cry. One of something I've saved, this little note, because everyone just sees me.
Right.
It's 45 seconds of one athlete, but there is a whole team behind the team. So I think that's what a big piece was, sharing that with everybody. So like one night I've always said, it says, Mr. Mazdzer, here we are again, battling, scratching, clawing, and still believing. I know you have been through a lot, and in this journey, it's still going. I still believe in you and your spirit and determination. I hope you remember that you love sliding. I hope you feel free the next 2 days and I get to see the fun-loving, crazy Chris I know. Love, Oaks. This is our physical therapist, Matt Oaks, who slipped that in my bag. Like there is a whole team, like, because when you're going into like an Olympic Games, and I know this is from the Olympics because the next 2 days, it's the only competition, right? You need every little bit of support that you can get. It's not like we show up like 100%. Like there's always self-doubt a little bit internally. And there's a whole team behind the team. It's just so funny that I just pulled this out today. It was in this stupid notebook, like inside of it. I'm like this is where that letter is in, like right here. Like you can see this is like some of like bow measurements from deals. And I don't think there's anything. Yeah. There's like a bunch of like sled equipment stuff.
Well, how cool to find that note of like support and encouragement.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I literally found it today.
Cool.
So I'm like, took it out. I'm like, oh, that should be in a safer place. So yeah, there's a whole team behind the team. So like, what does it mean for the US? It's like, we travel on the road and struggle, and we strive, and it is difficult. And to just get that was like, it meant everything. Truly.
That's cool. So I've heard that from a lot of fellow Olympians that I've talked to about, like, there's a whole team behind the athlete, right? The people don't understand quite the ecosystem of everybody that's there supporting that. It's really incredible how amazing it is. So
yeah, people don't realize that. It's like, I hold on to, like, if I were to lose my silver medal, like, okay, like that's here. It literally is in my heart. But something that like I don't ever want to lose is like something like this. The little things that move the needle.
Right. I agree. Well, this has been a really fun conversation. I've just loved listening to it. Yeah.
We just touched a small part of it.
You know what's interesting though, Chris, is as we've talked, I've just kind of gone through the questions that I was going to ask, and you've actually answered like most of them. The only question that I was going to ask that you haven't answered was, what was it like being on Dancing with the Stars?
Terrified.
Really?
Yeah. Like, it's so funny. It's like just a couple months after, fourth run, all the pressure in the world, smiling, confident, going to a show where you just learned 2 dances in 6 days and you were not confident, and you are watching you. And like, one thing that I will never forget is I guess I was like one of the first dances, and I wasn't paying attention, and I should have, but the way it works, it's like you get out to the stage, and it's like, okay, everyone quiet. And it goes like 10, 9, 8, 7, and then the lights dim at 6, 5, 4. Like there's a big screen, like, giving you the countdown. And at 3, it just goes black. You don't ever see 2 or 1. And so I was like, crap, did something happen? And then the music starts, and then like I'm like, oh God, like it just threw me off right away. You just don't know what to expect. It was a lot of fun. I wish I would have done a longer season. It was only a short 4-week season, for whatever reason. So a lot of double eliminations. I didn't make it to the finals, but I got cut with the national champion figure skater. So if I didn't make it to the finals, I'm like, all right, like I got cut with the national champion figure skater. I didn't do that.
Right. Yeah.
Right, so it's okay. It's okay. But I was just starting to get the hang of it after 3 weeks. I feel like after 5 or 6, I would have been okay.
Oh, yeah.
But
well,
that my partner called me bricks. At first, I had bricks for feet.
Bricks. Oh, I love it. So if you served on boards, you know, and you had a chance to shape the sport. If you could shape the future of sliding sports in America, what would you focus on?
That is a great question. I hate saying this, and I know we're moving in the right direction, but technology is a huge part of the sport in a lot of different sports. And I think in America, we have a lot of fantastic minds, but I think if we could collectively combine knowledge from a couple different sports, I know there's some private organizations that do things for others. Like in Germany, they have a company called FES, which is a German engineering company paid for by the German government for winter sport. And they have dozens of engineers where that's their job. I think that would help make us a little more competitive. I think people don't understand why we're not competitive in all winter sports, where we have amazing athletes, but sometimes that last little piece gets lost. And I mean, that's one aspect. And I think all sports would benefit from that sort of collaboration for sure.
Right. Yeah.
I also think we're making really good strides towards mental health in younger athletes and getting those resources at a younger age. There's definitely still work to do. I was an athlete that survived. We definitely band together. We call them clinisms, like hard coaches. Part of a company called an athlete ambassador for True Sport. And they have amazing mental health resources. And I think that's something, normalizing that conversation at a young age is really important. And I think we're also doing that. But it's not necessarily offering. I think we're still reactive. It's more like trauma related. It's more like we are in a dire situation instead of just pushing it from the start. Mentorship. I think is really important.
I think going back to the mental health thing, I think normalizing that across our entire public, right, our entire communities is something that needs to happen, right? Because mental health is a big deal. And it's always kind of brushed aside and quietly talked about. But to your point, normalizing it, I think normalizing it across multiple communities, our entire community, is something that's needed.
And so like one of the areas like I think is really important with good mental health, you have more capacity as an individual, just in general,
right.
Not only as an athlete, but I think specifically with athletes, like there's a difference between high performing and perfectionism, where like when you have high standards, when you understand how to fail, and that's part of the process that allows you to get better. But if you're trying to be perfect, you're kind of scared to fail. And so I think all of these athletes that are kind of scared to fail, and they forget that failure is a huge part of learning, and that these feelings, like, so for instance, like the definition of striving is to kind of fall on your face. It is to like go through these negative feelings and thoughts and emotions and pain, right? That is what striving is. No one wants to just feel terrible, but in order to grow, you need to strive, and that's part of the process. And so like that's like an area that I think we need to talk about a little bit, where there's a difference between feeling terrible and striving. And how do we actually handle that? And how do we use these negative emotions that we're all going to feel? We are always going to feel that. So that's what I mean. Like it's kind of like that difference right there. And what's great about sport is that it can do that. So you talked about like the general population. What if we're doing like sports teams at school?
Right.
Then like that's like a group that kind of supports one another. So it's kind of like these built-in support networks for
absolutely
kids
yeah
done well. So I think like a huge step forward and something that I really would love to see, and I think Utah could actually lead the charge here with the Olympics coming up, is getting that conversation into schools.
I agree.
You want to strive? Well, there's going to be some consequences. But how do we understand feeling is totally normal?
Yeah.
Like, how do we learn? How do
I love that thought.
Yeah, grow. So I think that's one area, like Luge, in general with athletes. They're too, and I don't know if it's the expectations parents puts on them. Like I for sure will be blamed. Like, Dad, you set these high expectations. Like, I don't care. They're like, you're an Olympic medalist. Of course we have a high expectation.
Of course. Yeah.
Feel that. Like I'm telling you not to feel that. So I think that's like one of the big challenges is, right? Like it's so hard to not set expectations, but having kids not feel like they're living up to that and in talking through that is going to be so important. So I think that's one thing where we can definitely all do better. And in luge and life, all that.
Yeah. Chris, thanks so much for joining us today. This has been awesome for me to just sit and listen to your story. I mean, you're not just an Olympian, you're a medalist, you're a trailblazer and a mentor in sport that should get more of the spotlight. So speaking of that though, tell us where people can follow you.
I haven't done the best job over the last 2 years, I'll say that. But I just quit my job last week. Really going to try to focus on writing and finishing the book that I've started over the next 6. Go into public speaking, and I'll probably be more active. I'm really only on Instagram under Mazdzer, Mazzzer. But I'm hoping to kind of take what I've learned and share it a little bit. I don't know. As you probably heard in the very beginning, it's like I feel like I have imposter syndrome my entire career, and still now like branching out after like being an athlete. But those are just rules that I've created for myself mentally, and they're not real. So
yeah, right. They're not real. Yeah.
To reduce the rules that I've created for myself and trust them. Always working on this up here.
Always, right. And it's always a process. So, well, that's amazing. We'll make sure to follow you and get our listeners to follow you as well. So can't wait to hear your speaking circuit. That's going to be awesome.
Well, I've got a lot more than that.
Good. And for our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to Inside the Rings wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review to help us find more fans and to get these Olympic stories told. So until next time, keep chasing excellence. Thanks so much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Inside the Rings. We encourage you to rate and share the podcast. And if there is any topic you would like us to cover, leave us a comment. See you next time.